Welcome. My name is Fadl Tarzi. I'm CEO of Nexford University. We're really excited to have you all with us today to talk about designing growth in the age of AI. Welcome, Tey.
Hey, how's it going? How's everyone?
Good. All right. So let's get started. So around the world, professionals and organizations are trying to make sense of how AI will shape work across every industry. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. I'm joined by Tey Bannerman, a former partner at McKinsey, one of the most thoughtful voices on digital transformation and the future of work. So over the next 45 minutes or the next hour or so, we're going to explore what's changing, where the real opportunities lie, and how you can build the skills to lead digital transformation. Feel free to share your questions, please, throughout the session. All right, someone who's worked at, McKinsey, spent many, many years there. You must have worked on projects where millions and millions of dollars have been invested, rightly and wrongly. So just help us first, sort of by sharing this brief anecdote, if you will, on the biggest digital transformation failure you witnessed. Like, and what can our audience learn from that? Some sort of colossal failure that maybe could have been avoided.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I mean, if I think about, I'm thinking about one specific example. I can't name the company, but essentially, I mean, it was something where the plan was this would last 2 years, and almost 5 years later, it was still ongoing. And in retrospect, you can see a lot of the missteps that were made along the way. So, I mean, when we say failure, one, it dragged on way past its cost and time estimate. Two, employees fundamentally didn't adopt any of the new tools. And then three, it really kind of, created a situation where they were highly dependent on multiple tech vendors, which is what what was not part of the initial plan. So from an additional cost perspective, it was overblown as well. And if, looking back, I think one of the first missteps when I think back is they started by going, we have these vendors, we have these set of tools or these set of technologies that we want to bring in. And then, they sought out to go, okay, let's bring them in and then we'll work out essentially how to change everything else after the fact. And I think that was the first misstep, where the strategy wasn't, let's really understand how the different business functions work today, understand truly what they actually need and how they'll drive value, or how they'll kind of either be more effective or kind of change the way they work with these new tools. And then and only then, when we have that clear vision and strategy, do we then define and decide what tools to bring in and where. So that was the first misstep. And then the second misstep was not getting the actual employees involved to really and truly understand how employees work, and why past digital initiatives had failed, understanding the culture of the company. By co-designing with employees, you really start to understand these elements. And so this was very, very top down. I think the third misstep is that once they brought in tools, there was very little by the way of a feedback loop. So it was essentially, okay, we've dropped these new tools and technologies onto the workforce. Things will happen and everyone will start using them. That's fundamentally not the case. So adoption. Adoption, but adoption needs to go hand in hand with getting feedback from employees on what's working well, what's not working well. Fundamentally, where do things plug into workflows? Where do workflows need to change? And without that feedback loop, you essentially had technology that was not being used at all. And so, in retrospect, I think those were three of the biggest missteps. And this was a very large organization, had a culture, a very risk-averse culture, didn't have a culture of innovation. And so people were very averse to changing the way they work. And when you have a culture like that, you need to do a lot more to actually plan out and kind of mandate, here's how we're going to work, here's how it looks different. And there was none of that.
Yeah. Okay. So this really sort of, connects to this next question around what we teach. So very often at Nexford, what we teach is, and digital transformation starts with strategy, right? Or specifically with design thinking in particular. So from not with tech, which often is the approach companies take, right? What tool are we going to get to automate something specific? It might be a process that's outdated to begin with, but we're going to automate it as opposed to changing the process itself. So from your experience, why is it that many still approach transformation as tech projects?
I think it's the issue is probably twofold. One, it's where the budget lies. And then a lot of large organizations kind of
with the tech teams
dictates who takes ownership of that initiative or project. And so if you have an IT budget earmarked, then it kind of falls into the remit and realm of IT. I think the second kind of reason is that it requires a really clear vision. And I think a lot of organizations take a step of incrementality. It's okay, we're bringing in a new set of tools and it's going to improve efficiency by X%. Whereas a lot of technology and now we're talking AI, it requires a fundamental rethinking of here's how the way we work changes, and without that, then and I think once you have that, then the second step, you go, actually this is not a tech project, this is fundamentally a workflow reinvention project that requires bringing together multiple functions as opposed to just having it as a tech initiative.
So let's follow up on that question, Tey. So we have this theory that often folks who are in those roles that are going to get automated are potentially the best candidates to drive or to lead digital transformation as well, because they have the domain expertise, right? So let's say my finance department is going to go through a big digital transformation project. And I've been working in finance for the past 20 years. And now I go and I build a bunch of sort of skills in product and design and digital transformation related skills. Am I not going to be an ideal candidate to lead that transformation compared to a techie without the domain knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was another kind of study that came out, I think it was last week, by McKinsey, where they showed that the organizations that are most successful with AI are the ones where they have that domain expertise, who are leading those transformation efforts or those AI implementation efforts, because it's very difficult for someone or a team to come in that has no understanding of HR workflows or what a good HR function looks like, to come in and go, hey, we're going to completely reinvent that. So kind of having that knowledge and experience is going to be massively useful in moving forward. And I think you're going to have companies essentially looking for those people who don't necessarily have product experience, but that's the product experience is not what they look for first. The experience they look for first is, what's your history and your kind of lived experience working in these functions, and then you combine it with with your ability to kind of break down tasks and to lead transformation.
So let's double click on this a little bit, because this is sort of an area of opportunity and hope for people out there in jobs that are going to get automated. So it's very important, right? So what advice would you offer here, particularly in terms of skills, right? So if I'm transitioning from, say, finance or HR or marketing, and I now want to pursue a career in digital transformation of that function, we've established I'm probably going to be ahead of people who don't have that domain expertise. Okay, what sort of skills do I need on top of the functional skills? What are the top 5 things?
Yeah, I think in no particular order. One is definitely an understanding of what's possible with AI. I think it's very difficult to lead a transformation if you don't have a clear understanding of the art of the possible with technology, and almost having a perspective on how that technology can change, or evolve your function. I think communication is a very important one, because you will be communicating both upwards and downwards, communicating across functions, communicating with engineers, communicating with executives, and knowing how to adapt your communication style to kind of, to different individuals and modes is going to be critical. I really think creativity is going to be an important skill. Being able to think out of the box a little bit, to be able to go, okay, we've just faced a new challenge we haven't seen before. Let's think critically and think through how to actually kind of get to a place that is not so obvious. I think product skills and experience are also going to be important. Being able to break down work and tasks, being able to set roadmaps, being able to really plan out, hey, here is how we're going to get to this new place most effectively. Is that 4 or 3?
I think it's 4. Yes.
And what's the 5th? Right. What's the 5th?
I mean, we can. These are 4 heavy ones, and communications, I think, is probably the most critical. It seems like a basic one, right? That's existed for decades, but every piece of research in the world still ranks communications as top 5, skill at highest demand and still in high shortage. In the final few minutes, our final question to you is a bit of a cliche one, so forgive us for that. So if you could leave just one piece of advice for someone who specifically wants to lead transformation in the age of AI, both sort of humanly and technically, what would that advice be?
Only one?
Can we have time for two or three?
So I think first, really understand how you can start with a problem, or how you can start with context and needs, and design a process around solving for those needs as opposed to just bringing in technology. Two, I'm only gonna have two, study past failures. I think there's so much that we can learn from how and where other companies have failed. I don't think people do it enough. But there is so much out there. I mean, I've seen so many YouTube videos as well where people go into detail, and they even interview people from those companies. And you also learn a lot about, you know, different organizational cultures and so on, and the impact that they have. So those would be my two pieces of advice. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, we agree. And that's actually why we put together this webinar. You know, you can hire an expensive consultant, or you can come listen to Tey and sort of, you know, and learn there. So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it today.